This is Africa, the cradle of mankind's birth, where powerful kingdoms arose with stories of worth, exemplary leaders, their legacy told. Nkrumah, Mandela, their spirits bold, let courage and dreams unite as one for a brighter tomorrow where greatness is spun. In this beautiful, colorful, and friendly domain, greatness awaits, where hopes shall not wane, where tales of triumph weave a tapestry. Welcome to Today in African History. So we're going to do something different today, guys. This is going to take us way back in history. December 25th, Christmas Day for over 2 billion adherents of the Christian faith. Pictured here is Cleopatra Selene II. By the way, Merry Christmas if you're Christian. If you're not Christian, Merry Christmas as well. All the best for today. This is the day that billions, over 2 billion Christians, according to Google, celebrate Christmas, the birth of their leader, Jesus Christ, reportedly born on this day, December 25th. There have been arguments about his date of birth, but that's not the reason for this video today. But it's a Merry Christmas to you all. Have a fantastic holidays. For most of my listeners who come from the United States of America, I appreciate your support. I deeply appreciate your support. So let's get on with today's video. Again, I did mention her name, Cleopatra Selene II. She was born in the summer of 40 BC and died circa 5 BC. So, she was a Ptolemaic princess, queen of Numidia, briefly in 25 BC, and Mauritania from 25 BC to 5 BC. Now, Mauritania happens to be in North Africa, so go check out the map of Africa and see why this lady is relevant. She was queen of Cyrenaica from 43 BC to 30 BC. She was an important royal woman in the early Augustan age. Cleopatra Selene was the only daughter of Greek Ptolemaic Queen Cleopatra VII of Egypt and Roman triumvirate Mark Antony. In the donations of Antioch and of Alexandria, she was made queen of Cyrenaica and Libya. Again, Libya is in North Africa. After Antony and Cleopatra's defeat at Actium and their suicides in Egypt, again located in Africa in 30 BC, Selene and her brothers were brought to Rome and placed in the household of Octavian's sister, Octavia the Younger, a former wife of her father. Selene married Juba II of Numidia and Mauritania. She had great influence in Mauritania's government decisions, especially regarding trade and construction projects. During their reign, the country became extremely wealthy. The couple had a son and successor, Ptolemy of Mauritania. Through their granddaughter, Drusilla, the Ptolemaic line intermarried into Roman nobility for many generations. So this is the story of her early childhood. Cleopatra Selene was born approximately in 40 BC, so the summer of 40 BC, like I mentioned earlier. She was born in Egypt as Queen Cleopatra VII's only daughter. A second name, Moon, in ancient Greek, opposes the second name of her twin brother, Alexander Helios, which means sun in ancient Greek. She was raised and highly educated in Alexandria in a manner appropriate for a Ptolemaic princess. Again, Ptolemaic is spelled P-T-O-L-E-M-A-I-C, so the P is silent. So we're going to carry on. The twins were formally acknowledged by their father, Triumvir Mark Antony, during a political meeting with their mother in 37 BC. Doesn't that sound familiar, guys? With the breakdown of marriages today. I'm going to carry on. The younger brother, Ptolemy Antony Philadelphus, was born approximately a year later. The mother most likely planned for Selene to marry her older half-brother, Caesarion, son of Cleopatra by Julius Caesar, after whom he was named. Over the next 2 years, Antony bestowed a great deal of land on Cleopatra and their children under his triumviral authority. In 34 BC, during the donations of Alexandria, huge crowds assembled to witness the couple sit on the golden thrones on a silver platform with Caesarion, Cleopatra Selene, Alexander Helios, and Ptolemy Philadelphus sitting on smaller ones below them. Antony declared Cleopatra to be Queen of Kings, Caesarion to be the true son of Julius Caesar and King of Egypt, and proceeded to bestow kingdoms of their own upon Selene and her brothers. She was made ruler of Cyrenaica and Libya. Neither of the children were old enough to assume control of their lands, but it was clear that their parents intended they should do so in the future. This event, along with Antony's marriage to Cleopatra and divorce from Octavia Minor, older sister of Octavian, who was future Roman Emperor Caesar Augustus, marked a turning point that led to the final war of the Roman Republic. In 31 BC, during a naval battle at Actium, Antony and Cleopatra were defeated by Octavian. By the time Octavian arrived in Egypt, in the summer of 30 BC, the couple had sent the children away. Caesarion went to India, but en route, he was betrayed by his tutor, intercepted by Roman forces, and executed. Cleopatra Selene, Alexander Helios, and Ptolemy Philadelphus were sent south to Thebes, but were apprehended by Roman soldiers en route and brought back to Alexandria. Meanwhile, their parents committed suicide as Octavian and his army invaded Egypt. The deaths of their Octavian, of their Cleopatra VII, and Caesarion left Selene and Alexander as the nominal heirs to the throne of Egypt, until the kingdom was officially annexed by the Roman Empire 2 weeks later, bringing the Ptolemaic dynasty and the entirety of Pharaonic Egypt to an end. When Octavian returned to Rome, he brought the captured Cleopatra Selene and her surviving brothers and him as captives. During his triumph, celebrating his conquest of Egypt, he paraded the twins dressed as the moon and the sun in heavy golden chains behind an effigy of their mother, clutching an asp to her arm. The chains were so heavy that the children were unable to walk in them, eliciting unexpected sympathy from many of the Roman onlookers. Once Egypt had ceased to exist as an independent kingdom, there remained the question of what to do with Selene and her brothers. In the absence of any surviving relative, responsibility for the children passed to Augustus, who in turn gave the siblings to Octavia to be raised in her household on the Palatine Hill. They were members of an extended family that included their half-brother Lullus Antonius, their father's son with his late wife Fulvia, their half-sisters, both called Antonia, daughters of their father with Octavia, very strange, and Octavia's older children from a previous marriage, Marcus Claudius Marcellus and his two sisters Claudia Marcella Major and Claudia Marcella Minor. Cleopatra Selene is the only known surviving member of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Her brothers are not recorded in any further historical accounts and are presumed to have died possibly from either illness or assassination. Octavia arranged for Cleopatra Selene to marry the intellectual King Juba II of Numidia, whose father had committed suicide in 46 BC. He was sent to be raised in Caesar's household. On Caesar's death in 44 BC, custody passed to Octavian, the future Augustus. The marriage likely took place in 25 BC and was commemorated in an epigram that survives in its entirety. Who had two children. Ptolemy of Mauritania, born 10 BC. He was named after his mother's dynasty and her younger brother. In naming her son, Cleopatra created a distinct Greek-Egyptian tone and emphasized her role as heiress of the Ptolemies in exile. A daughter whose name has not survived is mentioned in an inscription. It has been suggested that she was the Drusilla, who was the first wife of Antonius Felix, but this woman was more likely a granddaughter through Ptolemy instead. A hoard of Selene's coins has been dated at 17 AD. It is traditionally believed that she was alive to mint them, but this would mean that her husband married Princess Glaphyra of Cappadocia during Selene's lifetime. Historians generally assume that Juba wouldn't have taken a second wife as a thoroughly Romanized king, arguing that if he married Glaphyra before 4 AD, then his first wife must have already been dead. However, even contemporary client kings with Roman citizenship took multiple wives. It is possible that Selene and Juba separated for a time, but that their rift was mended after Juba's divorce from Glaphyra. Interesting. So, as Queen of Mauritania, a likely depiction of Cleopatra Selene II wearing an elephant scalp, raised relief in gilded silver dish. So that's the picture that you see right here, right now, from the Boscorial treasure, 1st century BC. In 25 BC, Augustus decided to confer on Juba II and Selene the newly created client kingdom of Mauritania, since Numidia was, after a brief period of status, as the Roman client kingdom under King Juba II, who reigned from 30 to 25 BC. Once again, directly annexed to the Roman Empire as the part of the Roman province of Africa's Proconsularis. The young rulers renamed the new capital Caesarea, which is modern Seychelles in Algeria, in honor of the emperor. Mauritania was a vast territory but lacked organization. Cleopatra Selene is said to have exercised great influence on the policies which Juba promoted. She imported many important advisors, scholars, and artists from her mother's royal court in Alexandria to serve in Caesarea. Through the couple's influence, the Mauritanian kingdom flourished. Now, how did she die? The couple ruled Mauritania for almost 2 decades until Cleopatra's death at the young age of 35. Controversy surrounds her exact date of death. The following epigram by Greek epigrammatist Gringoras of Mytilene is considered to be her eulogy. It reads, "The moon herself grew dark, rising at sunset, covering her suffering in the night, because she saw her beautiful namesake, Selene, breathless, descending to Hades. With her, she had had the beauty of her light in common, and mingled her own darkness with her death." If this poem isn't simply literary license. Selene's death seems to have coincided with a lunar eclipse. If so, astronomical correlation then can be used to help pinpoint the date of her death. Lunar eclipses occurred in 9, 8, 5, and 1 BC, and in AD 3, 7, 10, 11, and 14. The event in 5 BC most closely resembles the description given in the eulogy. However, the date of her death is not ascertainable with any certainty. Zahi Hawass, former director of Egyptian antiquities, believes Cleopatra died 880. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is some deep history that takes us way, way back. It's not something that frequently features on this channel, but I thought I would dig into a bit of, proper ancient history. So last but not least, to round up today's history of this lady called Cleopatra, an ancient Roman boss of Cleopatra, Selene's only son, Ptolemy of Mauritania, in the Archaeological Museum of Chachel, Algeria. So that's the picture you see here. Cleopatra was survived by her husband and her son Ptolemy, who ruled Mauritania together until Juba's death in AD 23. Ptolemy then reigned until 40 AD, when he was executed by Emperor Caligula, his mother's great nephew, who was probably jealous of Mauritania's wealth. Caligula's successor, Emperor Claudius, took advantage of Ptolemy's lack of heirs and assumed control of Mauritania, turning it into the Roman province of Mauritania, Caesariensis, and Mauritania Tingitana. Thereafter, Cleopatra, Juba, and Ptolemy were mostly forgotten. One of the two satellites of the asteroid Cleopatra was named Cleo Selene in her honor. Absolutely fascinating. I was going to say something else there, guys, but yeah, let's leave it at that. Ancient history, interesting. How relatives killed each other for power and one relative being jealous of the other. Well, nothing much has changed today, guys. We're learning from history. We're learning from our history as Africans. Our history as, in some cases, Africans who were oppressed and suppressed on the African continent. Egypt is a prime example. People argue that ancient Egyptians, the Egyptians you see today are the same as the ones who lived and ruled Egypt thousands and thousands of years ago. I beg to differ. I think at best, or at worst, depending on how you see things, the ancient Egyptians were mixed race, and that's what Americans would refer to. And even in the West, in Europe, you would refer to any mixed race person as black. That's what I believe the ancient Egyptians looked like. Not like Arabs or whites. They were definitely none of those. They came from outside of Africa, defeated Egypt, took over, obviously, settled in, started having children, and those children multiplied. They were wealthier, of course, so their population grew faster, and they took control of the land, and that has been the case up till today. Countries in South America are a prime example, but that's something for another day. Thanks for joining us today, December 25th. Like I said, Merry Christmas to all my Christian brothers and sisters from all over the world. Over 2 billion of you, just probably 0.0001% of you watching this video right now. Thanks for your support over the last 6 months. We promise to serve you better in the new year. Yes, we still have 6 more days to go, but do like the video, help the algorithm spread the video to more like-minded people who are interested in African history and the future of Africa and Africans as well. Subscribe to the channel, most importantly, turn on your notification bell so that you are informed, you are notified whenever we drop a new video. It's hasta la vista for now. See you tomorrow, Boxing Day, December 26th. Bye-bye.
Assalamu alaikum. Saleh.